Hi guys, I want to talk about something very important today, about good and bad, about the world changing. I always say there's no good and no bad, and people say, oh, there's good and there's bad, and there are so many bad people. But I want to talk about little stories I experienced about what's going on. There is something, a man called Neil Donald Walsh. He wrote a beautiful book. You can go to YouTube and Google, or go on YouTube and look for The Little Soul. Please listen to it. It's beautiful, or read it. It's about a soul, two souls who love each other so much that one soul wants to make an experience here on earth, and the other soul comes here on earth being really cruel and bad to the other soul, so that soul can make an experience. None of those souls are bad, but the soul who's really bad is actually helping the soul who wants to make an experience. We all come from source, and I just want to tell you a little story. I went to a workshop many years ago, and it was about 5 people on a boat. It was a game, and only one person is allowed to overcome the situation. So we had 10 minutes to discuss which on the boat is allowed to be the survivor, and 4 of them will go down and die. So one person was very egoistic and said, hey, I'm young, let the old people die. I don't care who dies. I just deserve to live. One old person said, you know what, I'm already old. I die. I have no problems and issues with that. And then there were a few more people saying some other things which I don't remember, to be honest. And what I did is I said, your death will not be for no reason. If I survive, I will make sure I will give your knowledge and share your wisdom and with the world and the survivors, and I will make sure that I will do my level best to help the world to be a better place. In the end of the day, some people left the boat saying they cried and said this is a cruel game, they don't want to play this game, it's ridiculous, it's not human, it's a terrible game. You should have seen the emotions. It was just a game for like 10 to 15 minutes, just deciding who's the survivor and who's going to die. And you should have seen the reaction of egoistic, reaction of selfish, being selfless, selfish, crying. It was crazy. In the end of the day, the 15 minutes were over, and they actually decided that I will be one of the survivors. So when they played the song and I waved them by, I collapsed, I cried out of gratitude, out of how much they actually believe in me, and how much that people had to be left behind, that one person can be alive. It was crazy. 2 minutes later, whoop, a huge gong, and a loud voice came, and they said, no one dies, everyone survives. So the people who left the game and actually looked really weird because they were overwhelmed by there's justice in this planet. And can you just believe that there's no good and no bad, that we all come from source, that we are here on this planet and no one will die, that we have different classrooms. Let's say you're born and incarnated into your family, and your mom and your dad are really cruel to you. You are allowed to leave them, not because you're bad, because you're supposed to meet your soul family. Not because they're bad, but just because they don't know any better. Just imagine your mom and your dad are being in the 1st grade, and they don't know about good and bad. They don't know how to use a really sharp knife to make a butter bread. They might run around and hurt you. But you being in the 10th grade, about to go to work, you know way better than them. So that's why it's so important to have empathy, but not to get dragged down into the jealousy, greed, and hurt and pain and suffering. So can you imagine that the whole entire world is run by something much more high involved, which is the power of love? Can you imagine that you're allowed to leave people behind which are cruel, but not because they're bad, but just because their consciousness is not evolved? Can you believe that there is no dead and no ending for anyone. So if someone is left behind in the 3D and you're going into 5D, that just doesn't mean they're lost. They will just come a little later. I love you guys so much, and I know you will understand what I'm trying to tell you. If you have some examples, please share your stories, like it, and share it with this video with other people. Sometimes we're really sad because I was staying in a house for 1 week and it was really dirty, and that guy who was living there, he said I was very difficult to handle. But of course I was difficult to handle for him because he gave me a dirty house. Now I'm in this beautiful house here. I pay much less and I'm happy here. It's clean. I do healing. I need a clean environment. Therefore, when I do healing with others, I cleanse my energy field, and I want to make sure that I have a clean home. So therefore, I will not stay in an Airbnb which is really dirty. So as you see, I was really upset. I'm sharing my life story. I have a beautiful life, but there are people which in my eyes sometimes are not good. But I also know that, which I sometimes forget, that they are just not this much evolved and they're still learning. And that's why it's for us good to do the forgiveness, because when we do forgiveness, it's not about they have done a fault. It's about we having empathy for someone else. This is understanding. This is forgiveness, to understand that no one is lost, that we are all from source, but we are all here to learn. If you need support and help, please reach out. And that's one reason I made the starseed activation, for you to reactivate your psychic abilities, for you to remember how many past lives you had, not how many, what you experienced in your past lives, and what your starseed origin is and who you are. It's so important for you to know who you are, because the more you know who you are, the more you can love yourself, the more you can support yourself and others. I love you guys so much. Greetings from Paraguay.